Hey guys, I have a story to tell you today. Something that happened today. Black pilled story. Well, it's more about, women, like, more about like a certain type of women in America. But basically, today I actually was on the street and I met a very attractive girl from Turkey. And I have roots that are kind of similar to, the Turkish area. And so I talked to her on the street. She was with her friend, and her friend is from Pennsylvania. And the Turkish girl was very, very nice. She was actually, I could look into her eyes and I knew that she actually wanted to speak to me. She was interested in me. And then she gets in front of her residence, and she's with her friend. And I continue talking to her a bit. And I was about to say, I think it'd be nice to get a coffee sometime. But and then I did say that. And she was standing there, and then her friend comes over and just starts saying something in her ear and starts trying to like pull her away from me. And basically, I looked back at her, but she wasn't moving. She wasn't going with her friend. She was actually staying there and continuing talking to me. But I picked up on her friend trying to get her away from me, and I said, basically, I was like, it's crazy in America that girls are afraid of just random stuff like that. I said that basically. But the Turkish girl was not afraid of anything. Our vibe was completely positive. Her friend next to her, there was something off about her. She just, I don't know what it was, but she didn't like me, right? And so she ruined that interaction. Now, keep in mind, this Turkish girl is really beautiful, right? I think if I stayed there a bit longer and I just said, she wasn't going with her friend, she was staying there. If I just said, I think it'd be nice to get a coffee sometime, like so she could clearly hear me, I think she would have said yes. But her friend, the way that she was trying to pull her away from me in such a weird way, and it made me feel as if I was some sort of like dangerous, unwanted person. When the reality is the Turkish girl was giving me signs of interest, and she wasn't going with her. But because I felt that way, I pretty much said, all right, it was good to meet you. And then I just let them like walk away. And basically I realized, the difference between the men. Now, let me tell you, this really pissed me off, because this Turkish girl was like, once in a while you run into a girl so beautiful and so attractive that shows interest in you. Once in a while. And then a dumb-ass American girl ruins it. Some stupid-ass feminist American girl ruins it. So this pissed me off quite a bit, okay? I'm going to say that American women, I'm just going to be straight, women are dumb. They're not smart. They're low they're low in understanding how men operate, especially. They're really low IQ when it comes to understanding men. Their behavior is not rational half the time. It's very, very emotionally based. I would just say they're low in conscience and high in, they're just stupid. I'm going to be straight. I could say whatever I want, because this channel, my face isn't on this channel, so I'm just going to say whatever the hell I want. I think most women are really dumb, and I really think I've had a lot of experiences with women. I'm very experienced with them. I would say that most women are dumb. They're a lot different than men in the way that they understand the world, the way that they think. I think women are very instinctive. They're very primitive creatures. Men are a lot more evolved, I'd say. That's why when you look at it, who are the greatest inventors? Who are the greatest artists? Who are the greatest writers? They're 99% men. All men. Men created the future because of our intellect. Women don't have the same intellect. They do not. Now, of course, there are always these these people, people trying to bring equality into the equation and trying to make people feel equal. But the truth of the matter is, the greatest inventions, the greatest things ever done on our planet were done by men. Vast majority of them. Of course, there's a handful of women who have done some things as well, but the vast majority is men. And the reason is because of our brains, our intellect, is different than theirs. Okay, it is. It's not about repression and all that stuff. Society isn't very repressed right now. Last time I checked, all the greatest musicians that I know of are men, classical musicians or jazz musicians. The greatest ones, 90%, 99% are men. The people who are advancing sciences, physics, vaccinations, men. They're all men. Listen, they're not women, and I'm sorry. Women have this they have this inherent. They know they're not the same, and they're very insecure about it. That's why they're so offended if you ever dare speak something like I'm saying right now. They're very offended by it because they know that they're not as good as men when it comes to psychological things, mental things. And I'm sorry to women, but that is the way it is. And I think there are evolutionarily developed traits that make that the way it is, right? Men had to be smart. They had to learn how to hunt. They had to learn how to cooperate. They had to understand how to understand people. They had to do a lot of things that women didn't have to do. Women primarily were concerned, evolutionarily speaking, with basically raising their offspring and getting a good mate. But even back then, women didn't have that much choice. It was usually the men who chose back then. Now they have choice. But in the past, it was mostly the men who chose which women that they wanted. And women would rear the offspring and raise the offspring. But anyways, what I'm saying is I think American women are, when we're talking about the negative mentality towards men and the hatred towards men, I would say it is different in different regions. The hatred and negativity towards men, I've noticed, is the worst with American girls. They are and I even talked to European women about this, and they agree. They say a lot of negative things about American girls, and I gotta go on that. The worst quality women, generally speaking, of course there are outliers, but the worst quality women in our world are generally going to be American women. If you are in a big city and you're choosing between a European girl or an American girl, always choose I guarantee you it's probably a better idea to choose a European girl. The mentality here is so screwed up. The women here have such a negative mentality towards men, and they're also just not very developed in terms of character. They're very, there's nothing there. There's nothing worth loving in most American women. I'm just going to be straight. There's nothing worth putting your effort into. American women in today's society are the worst, the worst type of women. I talk to European women, I talk to Turkish women, I talk to different sorts of women from different regions, and it seems that there's such a better mentality towards men. The Turkish girl that I walked up to, she wasn't afraid of me. There was nothing to be afraid of. I simply stopped her on the street and I said, I just found her, she looked really unique. I found her attractive, etc. She was not afraid. Her stupid American friend was afraid, though. For what reason? Do I have a gun on me? Do you assume that a guy is going to shoot you if he tries to talk to you? No, this type of stupidity and type of irrational behavior it's different with the Turkish girl because she's not indoctrinated into thinking every man is a demon like American girls are. American girls are indoctrinated in thinking that every man there's something wrong with him and sexuality is something bad, etc. They I don't know. Especially there's also a racist element in America for sure. Like there's much bigger racial element in America, and I'd say than most of Europe. Of course, there's racism in Europe, but a lot of racism in Europe has its roots in things like crimes that particular groups are doing, particular races of people there in the regions are doing, like the Arabs and Tunisians in Paris, and the high degree of theft associated with their culture, etc. I'm not saying everyone in Tunisia is a thief, but I'm saying, a lot of people in Paris, a lot of the Tunisians and Algerians, they're generally, the theft that goes on, a lot of it is done by these group. I'm not saying that everyone, I'd say it's probably a minority of these people too, but still, So I would say generally the mentality here is really bad. You want to sort of avoid You'll notice a lot of things wrong with American girls, man. They're also probably the most superficial types of girls as well. They're so, I don't know, man. They're also just uncultured. They're very uncultured. You could talk about something deep, something meaningful. They won't be able to correlate with it half the time. So I was just wanting to give out this story, how there was such a stark difference in the reaction between the Turkish girl and the American girl, and the fact that there's such a different cultural background. The fact that I was really upset that this American girl ruined my conversation with this Turkish girl. It was going well. Everything was going nicely. And this American girl, with her angry feminism mentality, ruined it. She pretty much, I was talking to her, the Turkish girl was standing close to me, wide-eyed, looking at me, speaking with me pleasantly. Everything was positive. And then the American girl tries to pull her hand and get her away from me. And I'm looking at her like, what? Why are you doing that? We're having a decent conversation. What are you doing? And the Turkish girl stayed. She didn't go. But because I'm so used to the girl, following her friend, I automatically said, well, anyways, it was good to talk to you. All right. It was good to talk to you. See you. And then the Turkish girl stays there for a bit longer because she's probably wanting me to, finish with, let's definitely get a coffee or something. She was probably wanting that. But her American friend continued to pull her, and finally she saw that I gave up. And then she said, well, it was nice to meet you. Thank you. And then she walked away. It was very negative, but I honestly hate American girls for that reason. Seriously, these type of behaviors that they're doing, the insane amount of leverage American girls have basically in the legal system and all these types of situations, it's extremely unfair. And I think a lot of other places in the world are not like that. It's America that's primarily like that, where women are given an insane amount of leverage in anything that they want to do. If they want, especially, it's insane when it comes to child support situations and like divorces. It's crazy. There are women in America who, like, honestly, they plan this shit out. They basically marry a guy who's wealthy. They'll either look for an old guy who's wealthy that will die off soon, so they could take his money when he dies off, or they look for a guy who is wealthy and then that they could dupe and then do a divorce and then take a crazy amount of his money and revenue his crazy amount of his paycheck. Basically, that's what I'm saying. And I again want to say that women, I'm the one guy saying this, and I'm very clear about it. Holistically speaking, women are not as psychologically developed as men. They are not as effective in creating change in the world and bringing benefit to people as men. The greatest things that have been done, the vast majority of those things have been done by men. And women have always been ineffective, and their main roles in life have usually been raising children. Really, I'm so sorry. Getting pregnant, raising children, and the effects of the women who actually do cause change in the world and bring benefit to society are a great minority in comparison to the men who do the same. A great minority. That's why if you look through history, look at the greatest inventions, the greatest theories, they're 99% of them are done by men, and I want that to be publicly known. I want women to understand that, and that is not being a misogynist. That is being a factual realist. All right, have a good night, guys. Bye. And I don't hate women. I hate that chick who did that thing to me today, though. That really annoyed me. That stuff like that, it ruins great possibilities. People who come in and ruin stuff. I don't understand what her thinking was, but there was no logic behind it. It was just very rude, and it screwed up something that could have been great. So I'm pretty annoyed by that. Remember, guys, this was a girl that you actually like, that would come once in a while, that shows interest in you. And her friends screwed it up. All right, I'm done. All right, later, guys.